What is going on today, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are having a good one. Today I'm making a simple step-by-step video on how to get started driving manual. We're going to go over everything from getting this car started to changing gears to even how to get yourself in the right seating position. So without any delay, let's get right into it. You're going to want to start in a nice open parking lot without a lot of traffic preferably, because there's a good chance you'll be stalling a lot, and even though everybody does it, it can be embarrassing when it happens to you. The parking lot should be flat because it's a lot easier to get the car going on flat ground than it is up a hill, and downhill is kind of cheating and you won't ever learn right if you do it the cheaty way. The next thing to figure out is your seating position. In general, you sit a lot closer to the pedals in a manual than you do in an automatic because you want to have full range of motion over the clutch. A general rule of thumb is that you want to sit close enough that your leg has a slight bend when it's fully depressed on the clutch. This is for two reasons. First off, it gives you ample control over the clutch. You're not stretching to reach the bottom of it, and your knee's not hitting the steering wheel when you're at the top of the movement. And second off, if God forbid you get in an accident, you want your knee bent instead of locked, because if it's locked, it's going to explode, and that's not a good thing. So set the bottom of your seat first, set your distance, then adjust your back and your steering wheel accordingly. They should have covered that in driver's ed. And if you're watching this before taking driver's ed, good luck on your test. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get familiar with the car. I want you to start with your car completely off, not even the ignition on, that way there's no chance of it accidentally firing up. I want you to just get a feel for how heavy your clutch is. Is there any irregularities in the travel, or is it even? My car, you can see it's kind of right about here. It gets a little bit heavier, and that's something you want to figure out. That way it doesn't catch you off guard when you're actually trying to get the car moving. Where's the bottom of your travel? Is it all the way down here, or is your bottom here, for example? Where's the top? Just spend a minute or two, get used to the car, get used to any quirks that your clutch has. That way you aren't caught off guard. When pushing the clutch in, try and center it on the ball of your foot. Don't try and push it in with your toes, because there's a good chance it'll slip off. I can't get it to slip off because my shoes I have huge feet. But if you push with your toes, slip off like that, that's not good. You push with the center, that's just uncomfortable. So like right here, center of the ball of your foot, very comfortable. There's two ways to let out your clutch depending on how heavy your clutch is and how strong you are. The first way is you push your foot in, keep your heel off the ground, and then just slowly let it out. This one's a bit more advanced, and I'm not a huge fan of it for beginners because you don't have a huge amount of control. It's all in your thigh and calves, and sometimes that can catch you off guard, especially when you're not used to it. So what I prefer is push your clutch in, plant your heel, and then use your ankle to pivot it off. This is the same maneuver as if you're using the gas and you're pivoting at your ankle. Next up, I want you guys to get used to your shift pattern. Most cars have first as left and up. However, you have a dog leg and your first gear is left and down, I am super jealous of you. What are you doing learning on an old Mercedes or an Aston Martin? Anyways, so go ahead, put your clutch in, and with the car turned off again, go first, take your foot off. Clutch in, second, off. Clutch in, third, off. Clutch in, fourth, etc. fifth, sixth, if you have it. If you don't, then you probably have a starter car. Then back to fifth, fourth, third, second, first. Find reverse, take it out of reverse. Just do this for a minute or two, get used to where your gears are. Just do that so you get used to it, so you aren't caught off guard once it comes time to shift, and you don't do what we call a money shift, which is 1, 2, 1 instead of 1, 2, 3. You do 1, 2, 1, you're gonna blow up your car. That's not good. Don't do that. So now that you're familiar with your car a little bit, you figured out the quirks of your clutch, you figured out where your gears are, let's go ahead and let's fire it up. So what we're gonna do, put your foot on your clutch, make sure your car is in neutral by wiggling the stick left and right, make sure your handbrake's on too so you don't accidentally roll away, fire it up. So now you've got your car fired up, you're kind of ready to get going. It's time to figure out how to work the clutch. First things first, seat belts. Now when you first start learning manual, this is most likely going to be your first time ever controlling a vehicle, other than a go-kart maybe, with your left foot, and that can kind of be daunting and definitely can be disorienting. So what I recommend doing, it's a little bit unorthodox, is completely ignore your right foot. Don't use the gas to start, just until you've gotten used to working the clutch with the car on. So take your foot, make sure it's near enough that you can actually hit the brakes in emergency, but don't touch the gas. We aren't doing that right now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by using the clutch only. So put your foot in on the clutch, put your car in first, foot on the brake, drop the handbrake, take your foot off the brake, and just let the clutch out super slow. You should feel the clutch begin to vibrate a little bit, the car should begin to shake, and the RPMs will drop if you're watching them. At that point, just slowly let it out. You should see the car will begin to move. Keep letting it out, and just like that, you're moving. Put your clutch in, put your foot on the brake, and do it again. Wait for it to vibrate, feel the car begin to barely move, and let it out, you're moving. I gotta stop because I'm gonna hit something. Put it in reverse. I'm gonna do that again. Clutch in, put your car in first, put your foot on the brake, take off the handbrake, take your foot off the brake, and just begin moving the car ever so slowly. You'll feel it vibrate, you'll feel your clutch vibrate a little bit, and you'll notice the car will begin to creep forward. Keep letting it out, and you're moving. Super simple. So when you're slowing down, make sure you keep your clutch in, otherwise you'll notice the car will begin to do this. Not good. Put your clutch in. It's bad for your car, it lugs the engine, it'll destroy it if you do it too many times. Just don't do it. Put your clutch in as you slow down. So a few troubleshooting things. If you find yourself stalling a lot, no matter what you're doing, double check just how slowly you're letting the clutch out. You saw how slowly I was letting out, just really, really, really slowly. Make sure you're doing it ridiculously slow just to start, up until you get a feel of where your car wants to start grabbing. Once you've figured out where your clutch bites, then you can begin to like modulate the clutch and get it going. And once you get used to your car, then you can begin to let it out quicker so that you can begin to actually do stuff like this. Like, I'm used enough to my car. I know that's exactly how quick I can let out the clutch without gas, without running into issues. Now, if you're going as slow as humanly possible and no matter what you keep stalling, then there's a chance you might just have too old of a car. It might just not have the power to do this. And if that's the case, then you can move on to step 2, which is introducing gas. Even so, I want you to keep trying. Take a breath. It can get frustrating stalling a lot. Reset yourself and try it again. And if no matter what you can't get it, then move on to step 2 of adding gas. Okay, step 2, adding gas. Now that you've gotten proficient in moving without adding gas, we can begin to introduce the gas pedal as an additional variable to get you moving faster, like if you're in traffic or if you're at a stoplight. Again, I only want you doing this once you've gotten used to the car moving with just the clutch, or if you physically cannot get the car moving with just the clutch. The general process is the same. Clutch in, first gear, brake, handbrake off, drop the brake, etc. But this time what we're going to do is we're going to add just a little bit of gas, keep it about 1200 to 1500 RPM, and then as you let the clutch out and you feel it begin to bite, begin introducing a little bit more gas. Here's how you do this. Clutch in, first gear, brake, handbrake off. Gotta make sure there's nobody coming because I'm doing this in a busy parking lot. Foot off the brake, 1200 to 1500 revs. Let your clutch out slowly. More gas, more gas, more gas. You're going. Let's turn it around. Let's try that again. Clutch in, first gear, on the brake, handbrake down. Give it gas, let it off, slowly, slowly, slowly. Transition, you're good. So what you're doing here with your feet is, imagine this is your clutch, this is your gas. You put your clutch in, little bit of gas. As you let off the clutch, you're adding gas. It's kind of a inverse relationship here, except for obviously you don't want 100% throttle when you're trying to get going. That's a great way to blow up your clutch when you're learning, or wheel spin and hit something. Don't do that. Imagine this range here, 100% clutch, 10% gas. Now what you're going to be tempted to do is just drop the clutch as you're adding gas and do that. That kills the car. That's not good. It's also not good for the clutch, not good for the engine, not good for anything. So let it out slowly as you're adding gas until you're going, and you're going much quicker. You see that was up to 10 miles an hour instead of 2 miles an hour without. Again, some troubleshooting tips. If you find the car is jerky and like not quite wanting to start, it's just like that, add just a little bit more gas and let the clutch out just a little bit slower. Not a lot slower, not as slow as you were doing before, but just a little bit. And again, I want you to keep doing this over and over till you're comfortable with it. Once you're comfortable getting going with gas and without gas, you can move into beginning to shift and beginning to go on a slightly longer path. Step 3, shifting. Once again, we're gonna get going the same way we've been practicing. Clutch, first gear, brake, handbrake off. This time, once you get up to the right RPM, take your foot, I'm gonna have to explain this while we're driving because I can't. Basically what you do is once you're up to the right RPM, foot off the gas, clutch in, first to second, off the clutch and on the gas at the same time. You're gonna have to watch the foot cam because it's hard to explain. Also, I'm putting on my sunglasses because it's ridiculously bright. First gear, clutch and gas to get going, and you're going. You're getting up to RPM, 2,500 to 3,000. Clutch in, off the gas. First to second, off the clutch, on the gas. I have rev matching, let me turn that off for y'all. Okay, get it going. First gear, go. Speed, second. And just like that, you're going. Thank you for driving down the middle of the road. And then if you want to keep going, same thing. Second gear, up to speed. Third gear, very simple. If you spent the time to learn where your shift gates are, this will basically feel like second nature. Not really because it's brand new, but very quickly this will feel like second nature. Once again, come to a stop, put yourself in first, get yourself going, up to speed, gas, clutch, gear, clutch, gas. That simple. So after you're in gear, so you've gone into second here, you're gonna wanna release the clutch controlled and quickly. You don't wanna just drop the clutch. That's not good. I'll show you what happens when you do that real quick. First to second, drop the clutch. Bad for your car, don't do it. Very jerky, not fun. Just don't do it. Now with the shifter, you also wanna be smooth like you saw. 1 to 2, smooth. 2 to 3, smooth. 3 to 4, smooth. Don't just go 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4. Don't just slam it. That's bad for your car. It's not fun. I mean, actually it is fun, but it's bad for your, oh, that's reverse. Definitely don't do that. But don't go 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4 when you're learning to drive. It's not good for your car. Oh, and if your car won't go into gear for whatever reason, no matter what you're doing, it's just not going into gear, stop. Don't try and force it into gear. That's a bad thing. Double check, make sure you're all the way on the clutch and not halfway. Make sure you're putting it into the right gear, for example, 2 to 3 and not 2 to 1. And just a few quick tips before I wrap this up. Number 1, don't rest your foot on the clutch when you're driving. No, bad, don't. What you're doing is, you might not realize it, you're introducing just the slightest bit of clutch travel. And the way the clutch works is you have the clutch and I believe the flywheel, don't quote me on that. One of them is connected to the wheel speed, one of them is connected to the engine speed. And when you push on the clutch, you rest your foot on it, you're releasing it this much. Not enough for you to notice in day-to-day driving, but you're very quickly gonna glaze your clutch and that means you won't be able to start. So don't rest your foot on the clutch. Number 2, don't rest your hand on the gear shift while you're driving, because you've got this thing in your transmission called synchros. And if you rest your hand on your gear, you might think you're not doing it hard, but you're introducing just enough play in the synchros that it'll make it really hard to go into gear in the future. Again, no, don't rest your hands on things. Rest your hand next to the gear shifter, rest it like around it, but not on top. Got it? Clutch, again, dead pedal, use it. That's why every car, except for like a really small old German sports car, has it. And just like that, you guys know how to drive manual, little bit. Keep working on it, soon it'll become second nature, and this is just one of those skills that is good to know in life. In the comments down below, let me know your guys' success stories. I want to hear them. I want to know if this video actually helped you or if I'm just talking out the side of my mouth. And with that being said, please make sure you guys have liked, subscribed, like I said, comment your success stories down below. Share this with your friends who are learning manual. And until next time, goodbye.